You know what's harder to undo than a tariff? A weapons contract. Do you know what's harder to undo than a weapons contract? A decade-long national rearmament strategy explicitly designed to remove dependence on American manufacturers. And that's exactly what's happening. Canada's Prime Minister, Mark Carney, announced a plan to spend about $131 billion US on military procurement over the next decade, specifically redirecting that spending toward domestic Canadian firms instead of American defense contractors. Canada used to spend roughly 70 to 75 cents of every defense dollar on American-made equipment. Carney has said on the record that that model no longer makes sense. He put the purchase of American-made F-35 fighters on hold, and now he's looking at Australian radar defense systems, South Korean and European submarines, Canadian-made early warning aircraft. The goal, 70% of all Canadian defense contracts will end up now going to domestic companies in Canada. And Canada, they're not refusing to defend itself. It is now making permanent generational choices to defend itself without American help. Meanwhile, you go overseas, and countries like France, they're doing something similar. France has announced that it is replacing Microsoft Windows with Linux on their government computers specifically so that they can reduce their reliance on American technology. This is France, our oldest formal ally, the country that helped us win the American Revolution. I know because my kid sings about it all the time because she's singing Hamilton. And we should probably stop using this rhetorical cudgel because they did it for their own geopolitical reasons. But still, they are switching operating systems because they no longer trust that American tech companies, under American government pressure, can be relied upon to protect French government data. This isn't just some IT department making a budget decision. This is an entire country deciding that the political risk of depending on American software is no longer acceptable. Across NATO, governments are auditing their exposure to American cloud services, American hardware, American platforms. The question being asked in every allied capital right now: what happens to our data if Washington becomes an adversary? And the permanence of these decisions tends to get lost in the daily news cycle. No one covers that. Sure, it may be a quote that they show in a headline about Mark Carney, but this is generational. Defense procurement cycles, they run 15 to 20 years. If Canada builds a domestic submarine industry, it will take an entire generation to dismantle. The industrial base, the trained workforce, the supply chains, the institutional knowledge, all of that gets calcified. If France, if they build their own technical infrastructure to operate their government systems on anything other than American software, there's bureaucratic inertia that they have to overcome to switch back. This isn't diplomacy tantrums. That's not what's happening here. These are structural changes, permanent structural changes in how allied nations relate to us. And these decisions are being made right now while this administration treats NATO like deadbeats and starts wars without consulting our allies. This trade war, it can be unwound by a future president in 6 months. But the trust required to sign a 20-year defense procurement contract, the kind of trust that says we believe the United States is still a reliable partner for the entire duration of this agreement, that takes a generation to rebuild. And once it's gone, it's gone. Every F-35 that Canada doesn't buy is a relationship that has to be rebuilt from scratch. Every Linux server that France installs is a wedge that gets wider. And every time Trump calls Carney the governor of the 51st state Canada or threatens to annex it, the wedge gets wider still. What this administration is doing to American allies is not good for negotiation postures. It's not. It's not good for anything. It is a permanent reordering of how the world relates to American power. And future presidents, they are going to spend decades trying to get those relationships back. But I'm hoping our relationship, I'm hoping that's not going to take you guys long to hit that subscribe button. If you like me, hit the like button. And if you don't like me, leave me a comment. Let me know. But I like you.